Good evening, everyone. This is Jesse Vaughn. Welcome to my very first fireside chat. These are going to be very short and concise segments that discuss the philosophical underpinnings of different arguments, but do not engage or try very hard not to engage in the divisiveness that tends to overtake political discourse. Okay, to start this segment, the quote of the day is, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." Mahatma Gandhi. Now, these quotes will not always be 100% relevant, but today it is because we are talking about security. The philosophical need that people have to feel safe has existed probably ever since we've been around as a species. We have always, in some way, shape, or form, felt the need to protect ourselves, to build some sort of shelter for our families, and to protect ourselves and those who cannot protect themselves within our group that we care about. And then as humans began to live in towns and cities and whatnot, this need kind of grew into a larger scale type of issue. And then when nation states formed around the 1500s or so, then, well, that's when border security on a national level started to become an issue. Well, there are those who have always wished to do harm to others, either because they had some conscious hatred for that group of people, or because that group of people had something that they wanted and they wanted to take it, or because they had some way of making a profit and they saw that group of people as a new market. Sometimes it was a combination of these. The problem that is being seen in our current era around the world seems to be kind of a combination. In the Middle East, you have people fighting because different groups of people claim that the same land is theirs. They both want it. It's a resource that both of them desire. And therefore, both of them wish to not only claim it, but also occupy it. At least that seems to be part of the issue over there. And that is why there are, border disputes in that region. In the U.S., we seem to have a bit of a different problem. In the U.S., the problem seems to be that lax enforcement of border security policies is leading to an influx of drugs and other and terrorists and others that other substances and people that harm us. The terrorists that come in, are falling into our first group, people that want to harm us. They, for whatever reason, believe that the U.S. as a collective, or the people of the U.S., rather, are somehow an active bad. The drugs coming in kind of ties back to our profit motive discussed a minute ago. The people that bring in drugs do so because they see us as a market. and they wish to sell their goods to us. You can't necessarily say they don't wish to harm us, because anyone who has handled these drugs or makes them should know on some level that fentanyl and other substances harm us. I mean, it's basic biology. And so the problem that we have in our society now is, what do we do to combat what has already happened, and how do we prevent more of it from coming in? Well, there are some who argue that if we enforce the border being closed, that not as many immigrants and their families get in, and that immigrants help the economy. Immigration does help our economy. However, most would argue that we have legal channels by which people can get into this country, and by which people have gotten into this country for centuries. And there are also those who would point out that no matter what good intentions we might have by being more open to new immigration and not enforcing as many of the policies that we have in the past, they would argue that this is ripe for abuse. And because most people want security, it is a human nature type of, it's like an instinctual, most people would like it. If not for themselves, then at least for their community. Most would argue that we should do more to protect the border in the U.S. And so, while there is no perfect solution to the issue of security, this chat does not claim to provide that solution necessarily, or to be designed to be the end-all be-all in any discussion. The conclusion that can be drawn from the facts presented here and the logic presented here is that people should protect whatever they hold dear, whether it be their house, the border of their country, the access to members of their family, whether it be by other people or by substances that could harm them. And so basically the message of this chat is that most people would agree with this statement, that you should actively protect those you care about, regardless of what political spectrum, or not political spectrum, what political party or affiliation or ideology you ascribe to. And because of this, because of such things we can all agree on, this chat aims to more educate than persuade. This chat does not exist to foment division. That is not the intended purpose here. The intended purpose here is to provide a take on an issue, attempting to look at it from both sides, though there may be a slant. I will acknowledge that. And instead, this chat attempts to provide a calmer view of the political discourse with some philosophical concepts added in. And so, on that note, I leave you with some food for thought. Now, the food for thought in these chats at the end will not generally be relevant to the rest of it. It just gives you something to think about, so that if you don't take anything else away from what I've said, or you don't agree with anything else I've said, you can at least think about this. And so, without further ado, the food for thought for today is: you can't cry over spilled milk, but can you cry under it? Thank you very much for listening. Have a good day.